Real people, real stories, and real challenges that break the status quo. I'm your host, Zivile, and welcome to Perception Paradise.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to International Startup Area, brought to you by Sesamers at Tuttofood 2026. Today, it's the final day of the event. I know that half of us are trying to be busy and to get home. Half of us are trying to close those last deals and to sell those final partnerships. But you know what? If you hear my voice, take a moment, relax, make your way towards International Startup Area, because they are up for a treat here that is very important for the whole industry to understand, to discuss, to see different perspectives. We're going to dive into the latest phenomenon in the world that's called GLP-1. You might have heard the different researches when people are sharing about the Ozempic. Initially, the drug developed to help with diabetes. However, it started being used for the weight loss as well. And it is kind of a bit of a revelation of how we eat and a potential threat or opportunity for our food market. I would like to invite on stage three gentlemen from very different perspectives, from food perspective, from investment perspective, from ecosystem perspective, on stage to just discuss about the GLP-1 Food Shock and what's ahead in the market. So, ladies and gentlemen, our dear audience and everyone who are here with us this morning, please welcome on stage Johan Jorgensen, who is partner at Sweden Foodtech, Giancarlo Addario, operating partner at Maia Ventures, and Matteo Wagner, co-founder of Cusin Food. So, gentlemen, please join me here on stage and welcome. Oh, and one moment, you know what I forgot? I forgot my cue cards.
Should we start without you? Or?
I'm gonna go, guys, try some food and you just start. And I think you already been in a very good flow here since the morning. No?
No, we'll just continue, I guess, on stage. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think so, but before we continue, maybe we can start with a quick introduction. Who are you? What brings you to Tuttofood 2026? And what's your relationship with GLP-1?
Shall I start?
Let's go.
Ciao, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm Matteo, and I'm an operator. So among the three, I will try to give voice to us of F&B operators. So I run restaurants, basically. I'm a franchisee of mainly, or at the moment, only Italian food companies. So I'm very interested to understand what future changes could happen due to the GLP-1 increasing factor. So I'm going to give the voice to the restaurants, which happen to be one of the biggest industries in Italy and, I guess, in Europe.
Well, and I'm the old food tech and nerd guy when it comes to everything that's new. And I always think it's fun to take a look at where the food system is heading, especially since I'm one of the founders of Sweden Foodtech, which is the leading think tank for the future of food in the Nordics and possibly in the world. No, at least in the Nordics. And I'm also a GLP-1 user. On various occasions over the years, I've tried different stuff. I always try to experiment with myself. So I have a first-hand experience of this, which has sharpened my thinking.
Wow. We will definitely dive into that. You're kind of like to try new things, don't you? Okay, amazing. Thank you, Johan. And Giancarlo?
Very curious to hear about Johan. I am a food tech veteran, as Johan is. We met in 2015, so long time friendship. I spent 21 years of my professional life at Barilla, and then I moved from the industry, from the corporates to the VC world. And I now work for two venture capital funds, Maia Ventures here in Milan and Five Systems Creators in Paris. And the first time I've heard about GLP-1, I said, wow, this is the holy grail. There is a pill or an injection, we didn't know exactly what it was, that helps you lose weight or keep your weight, and you can eat as much as you can. This is paradox number one, and let's keep the flow going.
That's a very great paradox. No, I think we can just skip off what we were just discussing down the stage. we clearly see the numbers are rising. US is leading with the consumption, not for the diabetes purpose, but for actually fast weight loss. And what we're seeing that in America, that now 12% of the population is already on GLP-1. In Europe, we have increasing numbers as well. It's less than 5%, but still shocking how fast it's getting. And what we've seen that this year in the US, the pills got regulated, and next year it's supposed to reach Europe legally, which perhaps going to be like 50% cheaper. And predictions say that it will increase the adoption of this GLP-1. So maybe we can start first, get Johan, your experience. Why did you start and what did you see? And also reflect on the paradox that was just mentioned by Giancarlo, that do we really eat more, or what's happening after you get on the pill?
Okay, so why I started is pretty obvious. I'm absolutely way overweight, and since I want to live not forever, but this is working so.
We can swap. Let's swap. It's a bit tricky one.
Okay, so yeah, this is perhaps more stable. Okay, so the reason is when you're overweight, you're just waiting for your diabetes 2 or your heart attack, and when you get older, as I am now, those things start to matter a bit more than when you're young and you still think that you're healthy. So I say, yeah, for my family's sake, I better get on these. And no, but it was really a fantastic experience, because what thing people never get is that trying to resist the siren songs of all these fast food brands out there, the cinnamon roll or the hamburger, when your blood sugar goes down, it's like being underwater out of breath. You just desperately need to have that kick. And it's impossible to resist. But if you're on GLP-1, it's me, it's not the mic, right?
You just need to try to speak into the mic,
Yeah,
and then it
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of keeps it
I
like.
think so. Okay, so but when you're on GLP-1, those cravings just disappear magically. It's just gone. And that has never happened to me before. You know, I'd always loved food, and everything you can stuff your mouth with, it goes in. And of course, it turns me into a fat, round bowl, right? With diseases coming. And once you get on these medications, you just lose weight and you stop eating, and you don't feel like a diet. It just becomes a natural way of behaving.
So would you say that you start with cravings for different types of foods naturally?
It's interesting because you stop crave shits and you start crave veggies. You start crave clean food, heavy dishes filled with perhaps sauce made out of cream. Not interesting. If you go to a restaurant and you order your normal big meal because you're hungry, right? So you kind of finish it. And that's never happened to me before. So the experience of being on these drugs is experience what I think is the same type of experience as a thin person would have. So I have the attitudes of a thin person now towards food, which is kind of interesting and revealing. And it's something I paid dearly for. It's like 400 euros a month, and I pay happily because this is probably going to prolong my life and increase my joy as well. And just fantastic. I'll pay for it happily, and I see this as the first antidote to the shifty food system we see around us, and that's really playing on the same type of biological features. So that's what fast food does. It really plays with your body. It's heroin, it's crack, right?
Yeah.
And this makes me able to resist it.
Giancarlo, we spoke about paradoxes that they were it's eating less and that's winning shit.
I had dinner with this gentleman last time,
Okay. And just a little bit happened.
and all what he said didn't happen. So this means that what happens when you stop taking a drug is that you go back to your normal life, your normal habits. So what GLP-1 doesn't do is the shifting habits, shifting diets. He doesn't do that. And we must be aware of that. The second critical point is that when you take GLP-1, if you don't take that under a strict physician surveillance, you don't take the right food, and you can have a lack of protein. You can lose muscle tissue that then makes much more difficult to lose weight afterwards when you stop. The third point is that what we observe on the market is that actually people is going away from sugar drinks, is going away from snacks, and is trying to eat better. But most of them sometimes take the drug without control. And that makes another issue. So the market is going, if you see, I was at Tuttofood last week, the nutraceutical fair, and there were a lot of supplements companies that were saying, okay, the microbiome is a part of it. The protein is a part of it. The microelements are a part of it. So there are many, many things that are, and this is an opportunity in terms of markets, because there are the companion products and services around GLP-1. There are the natural alternatives to GLP-1 that are raising. We as Maia Ventures, we have invested in a company called Lembas, who discovered a molecule from plants that can actually induce GLP-1 production in the body, and it will probably become supplement or an ingredient. So what will happen on the market? That's a key question. Probably that will be paradox number 2. Because if paradox number 1 was, okay, let's stop eating junk food, and we expected the opposite at the beginning, now the pills are coming, and with the pills, you can say, okay, everyone will take those pills and the market will be affected by that. Or now people who are taking drugs are injecting these drugs. This is a barrier to adoption, but is also a way to engage in a program, so to impact the behavior. Probably with pills, the impact on people's behavior will be a little bit lower, but who knows? We don't have the crystal sphere, and let's see what will be paradox number 2 in probably 6 to 10 months.
Okay, thank you so much, John, for sharing. Are you noticing any changes in behavioral patterns when it comes to food consumption?
So, first of all, I like the keyword paradox that Giancarlo is using, because I want to start with a paradox myself, which is Italy is the homeland of the Mediterranean diet. Everyone kind of knows it. At the same time, Italy in the last years have the fastest growing obesity rate in children in the world. We exceeded the US in terms of how fast our children are getting obese. And there's a second paradox that I experience, which is I spent the last 6 years as a director of Cusin, which is a company running fresh pasta, taste with high quality ingredients and so on and so forth. And I got to a lot of dinners, events, venues with the McDonald's directors, with the KFC directors, with the Popeyes directors. 5-6 years ago, we had no KFC, we had no Popeyes, we had no all these American brands. It did not exist in Italy. Today, among the European markets, is the fastest growing. Especially in southern Italy, KFC is growing big times. Popeyes entered the market a year and a half ago, and it's growing massively. So I do get that as a big paradox. Italy, homeland of Mediterranean diet, we can reach the highest quality ingredients with our hands, and our children, our families, my friends are eating more and more junk and American food. So to be very honest, I knew very little about GLP-1 for this event. So I do thank you all for inviting me, because it got me an occasion to study and analyze, because I do think the FME industry is a long run. It's not a short run, even though paradox number 2, I like the keyword, so I'll keep using it. we come from the era of social media.
You're gonna pay royalties, so you know that.
So I'm just going to call it something similar to paradox. I have to think about it. We come from the era of social media, and social media led to an increasing amount of brands that are only marketing based. And that's the opposite of the long run I'm talking about. So we come from a lot of brands that are surfing the wave of Instagram, TikTok, and so on so forth. And 99% of them are based on junk food. On the opposite, I do hope that the brands I'm investing in, I only invest in Mediterranean diet-based concepts. So Miss Cusin, fresh pasta, Alice pizza, clearly, it's in the name. We're discussing about opening Chiadineria as well, Chiadina, because I do believe there's a social part of it as well. So I'm very interested, and from now on, I will surely study and analyze what's coming with GLP-1. And I do think that people who think long run should start now. However, today in Italy, I see zero effects of that. I don't see anyone eating less. I don't see any less craving for highly processed ingredients, sugars, whatever. So as of now, I don't see. It doesn't mean it's not happening. And it could potentially be that starting now, I do get the advantage in there.
You should start now, Matteo, because if you look at this, this is not just about weight loss. What GLP-1 does, and you must remember now that GLP-1 is just at the beginning of a fantastic exploding trajectory. So the first version of GLP-1s were just targeting one receptor. Now, the ones that we see now, the cardinal 3 receptors, and I don't see it stopping there, right? So what we see is this Swiss Army knife of attacking what's called the metabolic syndrome, which is not just obesity, it's diabetes, it's certain types of cancers, it's psoriasis, sleep apnea, cardiovascular diseases, what have you. So for the healthcare sector out there, this is the magic pill that they can bring to people and radically lower their overall cost for handling all the other base, not just obesity. And so which means that the food sector might see this as an obesity pill and analyze it as such. But the fact is that they will be more affected through the back door by people taking this for other reasons. And when I look at this, it's like, yeah, do invest in the healthy stuff for the future, because you don't want to be stuck with things that are reminiscence of snacks or sugary drinks or even alcohol. And when you look at what's happening in other places where people take these pills, there's a study recently made by the Cornell University, US. They realized, okay, so alcohol consumption goes down 62% amongst those people who have this. And in families where one person is on these pills, that's going to constitute, in a few years' time, 35% of all the food spend, which means that one person can affect the food spend of an entire family in the direction of supporting the GLP drugs, right? Which means that it's not just about the person they believe, it's about the person's family and their wider ecosystem. So this is going to be a far greater impact on the food sector than the food sector believes. And right now, you know, what they're doing is say, yeah, I mean, you know, smaller portion sizes, increased branding spend, and we'll just, you know, keep them at bay. But they won't be able to do that. They will just be steamrolled by this development.
But you mentioned smaller portion sizes. We see that in the US that restaurant chefs have to readjust their different menus. And we had them a new kind of menu appearing for either you're getting the regular one or more like appetizer, fancy menu for someone who does not eat that much anymore to kind of reduce food waste. But I would like them to jump into innovation part of it. And Giancarlo, you, what have you been have you noticed any changes when it comes to founders and startups working in the food sector and their positioning? Because we do keep seeing right now marketing campaigns that are more like, oh, we're GLP friendly, we're no sugar, we're protein full, etc. So marketing is really rolling full on. What are you seeing now, right now in the startups?
So I think that the GLP-1 entrance in the market was a market catalyzer because the wellness trend was there since many years and will be there over other years. Whether we don't know whether the GLP-1 will be a high or will it's going to stay there. I think it's going to stay there. I agree with you, Johan. But probably, but what was going on before the GLP-1 era, it's going on at the fast OPEX. So that's what's happening. In the supplement space, it's funny because microbiome products, so prebiotic, postbiotic, everyone are trying to demonstrate that they have some kind of GLP-1 effect. If you see the protein products, protein drinks, they are starting to demonstrate that they have to. So everyone is running. In Italy, we are soccer fans, so we say all the players are running after the same ball, which is not gonna stay for longer because then we will have some kind of market normalization. So we have this strong acceleration for now for certain kinds of categories, and we have a reduction in some others. But there are many other factors that we need to consider. One is price. The other one is climate change that is changing the offer. The third one is volatility of raw materials, and cocoa went up to the roof a couple of years ago. Now it's going down again, and the consumption of chocolate will be affected by those factors. So GLP-1, it's not only the only factor affect. The cultural factors are super important. So it's a very complex word, and of course, GLP-1 is disruptive in the market, will be disruptive in the market, but many factors can pop up suddenly that can change the direction in an unexpected way.
I can see.
Yeah. No. I think we need to drill a bit in the economic aspects of it. First of all, why are the drugs so expensive? Because of the patents, right? They're not expensive to produce. They're expensive because they can charge, right? So if you look at places where patents have expired or about to expire, and we can have generic instead, such places as such tiny little markets as India, China, Brazil. So there you have pills coming to the market, and you see treatment costs like $5 a month. And these are countries that have been fast growing when it comes to fast food, for instance, snacks. And with the population of a couple of billion people getting on these drugs, that's going to affect these big fast food brands out there. Now, let's go to an interesting take here. So, in financials, your assets are valued based on the cash flow they can provide. So if you have a factory manufacturing cookies and the cash flow says, not as good cash flow anymore, then your accountant will step in and say, perhaps we need a pretty significant write-down here. And then you need to answer up with your own capital. And if you don't have that, you'll probably go out of business because you won't be able to raise because you have a bad cash flow. So you will die over the balance sheet, not of the loss account. And that goes far, far faster.
Thank you for the comments. I actually want to, one straight. I wanted to move to this financial part as well, and especially you, Matteo, when you're hearing right now, obviously the paradox. When free, maybe I can use your mic. Okay.
No worry.
We're gonna share the mic, right? This one is out of service for today. It's almost Friday, guys, so we're gonna be handling the microphone. So talking about the changes right now, what you were mentioning, consumption patterns are changing, right? And right now we're at the food trade show where everything is about the consumption, the volumes, about the regular supply chains. But if the consumption patterns are changing, which is a bit paradoxical that US is going away from fast food and we have fast food unfortunately coming to Italy. But how do you see it being affected, your work and the whole processes you have established so far?
First of all, I do see this for what I do as a major opportunity, because all what Johan and Giancarlo just said has been in the last years, unfortunately, the most boring marketing for brands. So marketing related to obesity, marketing related to cancer, marketing related to whatever. So we provide healthy food to avoid you being obese or whatever. That was always the most boring, unfortunately, marketing, because people want to see the positive marketing and run away from the, oh, we're saving you from something. I do see this as the biggest marketing material for what I do. So trying to invest and develop companies that provide a balanced, biological, and true diet, because that's what I really do, compared to the easy marketing of all the other brands. So first of all, it's a massive opportunity if this really spreads out as fast as I'm hearing. Again, it's a long run, so I don't see any immediate changes that we could potentially do, because as Johan said, okay, or as you said before, the smaller portions or whatever, yeah, these are quick fixes. But as a long run, I do think that we need to investigate deeply on the effects of this. So starting to consider the Cornell University analysis on alcohol use, or any other analysis that are gonna, I guess, start and kick off an increase in the coming years related to how consumptions move when under GLP-1. And I guess that's gonna drive our future changes. But if you stick to something that kicks off naturally as healthy, biological, kilometer zero, so something that you really don't move, because again, Giancarlo was talking about environment as well. That's a movement that started 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and it's gonna continue. So if you mix and match all that together, I guess you're gonna have the replies for the industry that, again, in Italy it's one of the biggest industries in general, the restaurants. I guess you're gonna have the replies. But if you start now with companies that today are naturally driven by that, you're already starting off well. If you're trying to pivot McDonald's or other brands that start off the opposite, that's very tough. So what I would do personally as an investor, as an F&B operator today, is just avoid something that needs a massive pivot in order to work, and actually invest on something that is boring, to be GLP-1 compliant, which is not really a good way to say that. Yeah.
There are a couple issues that I want to raise. The first one is the side effects of GLP-1. Everyone has heard about the Ozempic fix. So people that lose weight too fast without proteins. So that is starting to be known by the big audience. And again, the backlash of that could be an exaggerate estimate of what is going on, and people would start to have fear of drugs and trying natural alternatives. So that could be one part. The other part is regulatory. If we think about what happened in the UK when they started with the HFSS regulatory hurdles, and most companies have been forced to reformulate their products and to stick to the regulatory, and to people are not allowed to sell heavy foods with the high loads by the cashier. They have to hide them somewhere. They are not allowed to advance those foods like cigarettes. And that part could also help to drive the market in a direction towards healthier foods, healthier offer. And as I was saying before, I thought that the next big thing would be we had no sugar, low sugar, carb fear. Then we have high protein. Now high protein is kind of squeezy. We have the plant based that was at the center of the scene for many years. I think that next wave might be high fiber. But again, since food is a complex system, I don't like slogans. I don't like to say stop sugars, probably because everything must be balanced. A diet must be balanced. And you are an ambassador of that, Matteo. And I like that. I think it's about behavior, it's about cultural shifts. And drugs or supplements or would be an aid to follow those routes, but we still need to follow the routes, and you still need to be much more balanced when we eat and when we in the way we behave. Because one reason why we are trying to have these shortcuts is because to stick to a diet means engagement, means concentration, means time needed to buy fresh food and to cook and to prepare, means knowledge, competence that we are losing over the years.
Yeah, let's also dive into what you spoke about here, which is adjacent industries, because it's not just about food. For instance, a world that is getting lighter will need other types of aircraft design, for instance. Over the years, Boeing and Airbus have gradually reinforced their airplanes in order to fit, heavier people more. How they can make the design lighter? They will consume less fuel. That's interesting, right? Let's also go back to beauty industry. What we see now is many of these beauty brands out there are actually working with the Ozempic phase to tighten up the skin. It's getting a pretty big market. And of course, the apparel market, clothing, so you see that certain clothing brands, they're reducing their sizes now. And if you look at the Upper East Side in New York, so the demand for XXXS sizes has been, going up dramatically, and the demand for larger sizes have been going down. And the second-hand clothing market right now is flooded by large sizes because people are exchanging their wardrobes, which is actually a pretty big opportunity for big clothing brands to be there when people want to, they want to have a new wardrobe. And this is kind of interesting too, especially for women. And now I'm not generalizing here, I just look towards my wife. Because if when she loses a couple of pounds, a couple of kilos, she wants to have new clothes so she can look her best. And I think it's kind of generalizable, which means that when that is a big trend and it goes fast, I would definitely like to be in the plastic surgery, cosmetic brands, and have a clothing brand that really is appealing to women who have lost a bunch of pounds. So there are adjacent industries that we need to look at as well, not just on the upside, it's also on the downside. All these fat Americans driving around, sitting on a little electric mobile, enabling to go around. The sales of those electric little permobiles or whatever they're called, I will drop. The specialty shoes for really heavy people, that's not a business to be in a huge trick. So this is civilizational medication that will change, what planet Earth looks like. It won't happen tomorrow, but if you take a look at the longer term perspective, the 10 or 20-year perspective, which you always do when it comes to investing, you will make investment decisions based on a huge uptake of super cheap pills that have effect that says, the planet Earth will be 20% lighter in a to be so.
Very interesting to data and tax. Do you have anything to add before I follow up?
No.
Okay, so immediately you mentioned, Johan, about the investments and different approaches. I would like to go back to Giancarlo. So how does it now change or broadens up your investment thesis when it comes to the whole industry?
It hasn't changed dramatically because weight loss or weight management was a hot topic even before 2023. Just to make to tell what is the milestone in terms of weight. The health and wellness was a trend that would be a trend. So still searching in those areas. Supplements keep going up, so it's a sector that goes up and keeps going up. So I don't think that, as I said before, GLP-1 will be probably even more a catalyzer, but the kind of processes that were there before GLP-1 will be there after GLP-1. So I don't see dramatic shifts in the trajectories of the market.
You're wrong.
Why is he wrong? I like it.
No, I think the uptake will be super fast, and that will have a tremendous effect on everyone in food sector. But it of course also depends on where you are already when you're investing. I mean, like, you're not an investor in shit. You invest in good stuff, right? So you will have a good trajectory. The same goes for you, Matteo. You're an investor in good food. You will have fantastic days. For a lot of these people in here, I just see zombies. Oh, no, they're dead men walking.
Okay, so since we're getting closer to the end,
To argue.
okay, let's go to follow up. We have time for that.
We keep arguing afterwards.
I'm listening. I like it. Keep going.
There was a nice lady using seats because if we are sitting like there was using a big croissant. Half an hour ago, not just a few minutes ago, there was
Just a lady,
nice lady there.
So we're talking
Eating a
about
nice
sugar,
croissant with a lot of cream, and I think that large companies that produce junk food, let's call it this way, are already working on innovation to change that and to drive their offer to healthier alternatives and healthier offers. So they will keep doing that at a faster pace. But I think in the food, and we don't know what will happen on the drug markets on the other side. Probably NI's like the hype of GLP-1 started with the celebrities saying I like this, and started also by people that don't need that keep the drug, which is also something to keep in mind and to address. And at the same time, the way it's hyped, it can hype back down because of bad communication or bad because tomorrow a couple of celebrities will die and they will say they died because they do drug. So who knows? We'll keep arguing later on.
I think the celebrities will continue to die from drugs, but not from meds.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they will. I'm saying that there will be some other celebrities saying that the celebrity died because of that. Let's
Okay, I can see Matteo wants to jump in.
I want to jump in a thing because I'm starting to study now. So you clearly had a lot of months or years, whatever, of experience, and you said I would be happy to see the 2026 as a year of figures. What's weird is that it was the same speech the CEO of McDonald's did in November. CEO of McDonald's is true. CEO of McDonald's each year throws a speech. Last year was the year of proteins for him, and this year will be the year of fibers. That's what he said. What I'm very interested in, based on what I do, is I do see this as a positive trend to fight the processed food. What I'm not 100% sure, and what I will deep dive now into, is the sugars. But why do I say the sugars? Because I do understand that it's going to put you into a less craving environment for sugar. The issue is that I thought COVID would have put us a little bit on a slower trend in life. I do remember the words of my father that kept telling me when I was 20, 22, when he saw me doing 100 things together, is like, I'm not going to be there, but I wish to be there when you're 70 because I want to see if the human being adapts or if you're just all going to burn out. Because nobody of my generation was working, studying, living at the pace you guys are living. That was the biggest things that come to my mind when I think about my father. And I thought COVID would have helped slowing that trend. It's the opposite. I see people on times, 3 times the speed, the pace of before COVID. And I see still the need of sugar as the biggest aid for that. So I still see a lot of people craving for sugars to get that sugar bump for 45 minutes because they know they got a big meeting or a speech or whatever, and they just eat a fast chocolate bar or whatever to get that pace. So processed, I do see. Sugars, I do some.
No. If you, I'm that guy, Matteo. I am that guy, and I can tell you when you're on GLP-1s, you don't. Okay, it's gone. But it's interesting. Let's have a last little thought experiment for you guys.
Okay.
So when we talk about the new geopolitics out there, so we all know that the Strait of Hormuz is closed. We don't get any oil. At the same time, we need to reduce sugar pretty rapidly, and you can do that by putting people on GLP-1s. What you could do with the sugar that isn't consumed, you can turn it into biofuel. And I think if this is civilizational medication, then I think we will also see the adjacent industry of biofuels go pretty much up because people won't use sugar. But you can use sugar to produce ethanol instead, for instance. Same thing goes, another thought I had in a country like Sweden that is absolutely not resilient in any way when it comes to, it's like 50% self-sufficient. So I guess, okay, so what if we give every Swede GLP-1s instead if the shit hits the fan and we don't have enough food? So people will feel better and they will consume food. So the food would stretch longer, right? So there are so many things you can think around these GLP-1 medications, especially when they're up to scale.
And so many cross-functional kind of intersections, and it's not only about food, but it affects everything, environment, health, and etc. The temperaments, we're getting closer to the end, and since we're here in the international startup area, at the food tech. So maybe as a final thought, I would like to hear from you. What would be this one thing a food company or a food startup particularly should do and take into consideration in the upcoming 12 months as a direct response to this whole GLP-1 shift?
Study, I guess, because what I heard is 100% more complex than just getting a pill and stop the craving. And I do see a trend of studies getting along. So the Cornell University one that Johan mentioned before, and surely multiple others that are going to pop up. Because when it comes to something extremely complex, the best thing that you can do is get as much of this information as possible to then get to the closer to the best possible solution. So study, because if we're at the beginning, and I'm a little bit more into what Johan said, I if it's what I'm hearing, it will be probably faster than expected. So not just study, but study quite deep.
I say reevaluate your strategies, your long-term strategies. This is the fastest moving medical intervention ever in the history of man. And if it's doing anything, it's accelerating. This is not going anywhere. This is not a hype that will fade away. This is here to stay. And you need to relate to that.
On the opposite, so keep keep your strategy, of course. If your strategy is not making chips or making fried stuff, but keep improving your products, keep following the long-term trends, and keep your trajectory, knowing that the acceleration is very fast. So be flexible at the same time. Study a lot. So I'm just keeping up to by everyone, because you must, of course, be very fast in providing answers to new needs, but the needs are within the stream of long-term trends that were there and would be there in the future.
All right. I think gentlemen did a really great to wrap up. Giancarlo, Johan, Matteo, thank you so much for finding time and being here with us today for your great insights from different perspectives. Thank you everyone who were here with us today and who listened around the books. If you hear my voice, come back to International Startup Area. We still have some founders here sharing what they're working on, what they're building. And if you have any questions, you will find gentlemen by this stage at International Startup Area. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you. And I guess that was